nice. Just taking a break from working on the Mini. Currently sat at Langland Bay, South Wales. Oop, what was I doing then? This video is working on the fuel system. Hope you enjoy. Alrighty, so onto the fuel system. So first, I'm just going to mention the key differences or the key different requirements of the Nissan fuel system versus the Mini A series engine that I took out. So an obvious one, this is a fuel injected engine, and as you can see here, I've got the fuel injection rail. So this is what you call a return fuel injection system. Not all cars have this, all modern cars have this, but basically adds a supply fuel line and also a return fuel line. So high pressure fuel comes in here, gets used by the injectors. Anything that's not used by the injectors then goes back to the tank. Okay, so the standard Mini A series engine for this year was carburetor non-fuel injection. So it would have had carburetors up here, it'd have a small fuel pump mounted to the side of the engine block, and then it would be a single line from the tank all the way to that fuel pump and then to the carburetors. So there's quite a few differences. So to tackle that, I shall show you the parts I've collected. Okay, so to tackle this fuel system challenge, first thing I did is I bought a SPI, so that's a single point injection mini tank. So one of the last classic minis they did were converted to fuel injection, and here, being a fuel injection car, like modern fuel injection car, you'll have an in-tank fuel pump. So rather than trying to fabricate a fuel system or drilling a hole in my existing tank and mounting a fuel pump assembly, I got the SPI mini fuel tank already with a cutout to accept the fuel pump. Okay, and this was also based on a return line system as well. So I'll show you now the other parts, in particular the fuel pump assembly. Okay, so here are all my bag of bits to make up the fuel system, not including obviously the fuel lines that connect all these parts together. So as mentioned here, out of the SPI Mini, I've got the fuel pump assembly here. So it's got the mini fuel pump here, it's got two lines, so it's got a feed to the engine, on this one, and then a return. So it's got a return line system like I mentioned before, just like this an engine. Okay, and that came out of there. Okay, next I've taken the fuel pump out of the Nissan Micra's fuel tank. So the classic Mini SPI, obviously it had a in-tank fuel pump, but from what I've read, this is quite a low pressure fuel pump, I think about 1 bar. The Nissan Micra needs at least 2.5 bars, so I'm going to reuse, hopefully it's still good condition. I've got a spare pump as well, because they're relatively cheap, just in case this one's knackered from the Micra being so old. So I'm going to utilise the Micra pump, and I've also got, we're going to utilise the fuel filter clamp off the Micra, quite a neat little design. So I'm going to find somewhere, maybe there, to mount that in the engine bay. New fuel filter, okay, and then not direct related, but I've also got a new level sender because my which would go in here. My SPI tank didn't come in one. Okay, so I've got a new fuel level sender. Blech. Okay, so my first step is to remove the mini fuel pump from the SPI Mini, fit the Micra pump to this. I also might give this a bit of a clean up because it obviously hasn't been used in a long time, got a bit of surface rust, a bit crusty. Okay, so I'm going to swap these out. Let's do this. And there we are, sports fans. So that is the Micra pump installed with the strainer filter onto the assembly here. Cleaned it all up with the wire wheel. Funnily enough, the electrical connection Maybe all these fuel pumps are made the same, I don't know. But the electrical connection is exactly the same as it came from the Mini, so I've reused the same wiring that was already on the Mini fuel pump assembly. I've also just quickly checked continuity with my multimeter between the points here and here to make sure that wire is good, and it is. So, it's a nice easy job. So next I'm going to install it in the tank. Okay, and there we are. So fuel pump assembly reinstalled with the micro fuel pump, and I've installed my new sender unit as well. So next step, I'm going to put this tank in the Mini. And there we are. So new tank fitted. Fortunately, this Mini had the widest strap, so I think it's had this tank, which is bigger than the original tank, at some point in the past, because this is the strap for the bigger tank, so that was lucky. But yeah, fits in nice. And next step is I'll be doing laying on the fuel line. Okay, next part is I'm going to find a place for this fuel filter and fuel filter bracket. Okay, so I'm thinking around about here should work pretty well. You can see the existing fuel line just there, so it's right above that, and then the inlet to the fuel rail is only there. So I think that should be a nice place. Hopefully when I start adding cooling lines and other bits and bobs like this clutch cable line gets fitted properly, it's not going to be in the way. So I'm going to take a bit of a leap of faith and I'm going to install it right about there. So to mount it, what I'm going to do is drill 2 holes into the bulkhead here, and I'm going to use my rivet nut tool here. So, oops, got some M6 rivet nuts here, I believe. So, for them who doesn't know what these are, it allows you to drill a hole, install these, and you can thread it from one side. You don't need to put a nut on the back. So you thread it on there, put it into the hole you just drilled, pull it, and it'll essentially deform. You can see it there, the blank section of the rivet nut, and it'll grip the sheet metal. Quite handy for stuff like this where it's not very convenient to get to the back of it, because to get to the back of that, although it is possible, it'll be a bit of a squeeze because it'll be right underneath the dash and the footwell. So this should make it easy. So I'm using the M6. So by my measurement, it needs about an 8mm, between 8 and 9mm hole drilled. So I'm going to get on with that. Okay, so drilled the holes, installed the rivet nuts. Got the bracket here, so let's do the installation. So far so good. Need a fucking spanner. And there we are. Nice. Okay. Got the final insertion. Oh. There we go. Get the little hat straight. There we are. Fuel filter installed. So next step is I'm going to run the fuel lines from the tank to the fuel filter, from the fuel filter to the injection rail. Okay, onto the fuel line. So what I've done, I've removed the existing fuel line, which I'm showing here on my workbench, from the Mini, and I'm going to use this as a template to lay the new, to match the shape with the new fuel line. So I've got some soft copper fuel line here. This is a size up from this one. This is a 1/4 inch, being the micro, being fuel injection, slightly more flow, and based on what the existing micro had, this is 5/16 or 8mm fuel line. So I'm going to use this and mirror the shape and then do it twice, because obviously this is now a return system, so I'll make a supply run and a return run and then look at mounting that underneath the Mini. And there we are. So managed to use the template for the existing fuel line and bend the copper line to, I'll say, roughly match. It's not perfect, but it's got the general shape. This copper line is quite malleable, so I'm sure I can force it where I need it to be once on the car, but I've got the general shape down. Okay, using one of these if you've got one, if you're doing the same job. One of these copper pipe bender tools are quite good. I've already done the other one on the floor, ready to go. So yeah, let's get this installed. Okay, so fuel lines have been mounted. So I've got the copper hard lines mounted under the floor, and then I terminated the copper lines about here, and then I've connected it to the filter, and then from the filter to the inlet on the rail, and then from the return. Yes, I know I'm using two different types of fuel line. I have ordered some more of this this black fuel line with the orange strip. I think it's quite good having this orange strip because it's helping me make sure that I'm not twisting the pipe necessarily, putting extra strain on it. So there will be all consistent clips and consistent pipe type. There you go. Show you underneath. Oh, did you hear my knees? Back again. There you are. Okay. I have managed to use the existing pipe clips on the Mini. So these are like little brackets that are welded to the floor, and then they bend round a pipe. Obviously this Mini originally had one pipe, but I managed to make it work for two lines. It's very secure, but I might still add additional clips. Haven't decided yet. But okay with that for the time being. Lovely jubbly. I'll show you the boot. Oh. So I've got two, focus. Two lines going up through the floor there into the tank. Okay, yeah, I'll be clearing out that surface rust, don't worry. Alrighty, hope you enjoyed. Next episode will be sorting out the gear linkages and also the exhaust system. Civvy.